Joe's Auto Sales, or in that case, WSM, which was a big insurance company, they decided we'll have a little bit of entertainment. So what they did is they would talk for their hour or however long they were. Now remember, WSM owned the radio station, so there was a lot of life insurance going on back then. This is in the 1920s. Wasn't a lot of auto insurance, but life insurance was a big thing. They sold you life insurance and they sell you whatever they want. So they decide, in the middle of this, we're going to start a little music. So at WSM Radio, and we have a picture, I think the early picture back there, Tom, somewhere, there's an early picture of WSM, just the radio station, because they weren't in the Ryman Auditorium. That's the Ryman Auditorium. They were in just a little regular old radio station out there that looked just like a little building. I don't know. It'd be like one of the first pictures I may have sent you. But in the very, very beginning. So what they do is they do their little thing, and then they decide, well, we'll have a little music. So I want you to understand, when they decided this music started catching on, people started liking this music, actually liking this music than they wanted you talking about your fix-it shop or whatever you're doing. So the music started catching on. So they decided, and I think it was November of 1925. I wrote it down back here someplace, that's right. On October 17th, 1925, they decided, you know what, let's turn this little part of the show into its own show. Now, they're in a radio station with no folks around, and they decided to have what was called the first Saturday night barn dance, And so they, first show, October 17th, 1925, I want you to hear a little bit of the way it might have sounded back then. They had no band. There was only one guy. And we got Doug Stock going to come out here and show you just a little bit about what it may have sounded like the very first night. Y'all say hello to Doug. They had a lot of uncles. They called Uncle Jimmy Thompson, Uncle Jimmy this, Uncle that. The first guy was, Doug can tell you who it was because he's an educated guy, and that is a stupid-looking fiddle.
My good buddy who's coming up next, Uncle Dave Macon, smokes a lot of cigars.
Yeah.
And I asked Dave if he wouldn't give me one of his cigar boxes, and this is what we made. Actually, a good friend of mine, I hope they're here, over here. Okay, good. Is letting me borrow this tonight. You'll see a little cat on the tailpiece here. So this is kind of a little homemade fiddle and just about what it might have been like back then.
Their opening line was, "Let her go, boys."
Hang on.
There you go, right there. Doug Stock, everybody, and a cigar box fiddle. All right, we'll keep rolling. So what starts to happen are these people are on the radio, and WSM had a big tower, and that tower would reach out for a long way. It was called Clear Channel. So when I was a little boy, I'd be messing around with my radio. How many of y'all listened to the Grand Ole Opry when you were kids growing up? Nobody. Okay. What? You thought this was a Marilyn Manson show? You got the wrong show. Anyway, so now what happens in country music is these guys are heard on the radio. Well, back then there wasn't television. So people start looking at these guys. Man, they're on the radio. They're big stars. There was a guy named Uncle Dave Macon, who was one of the first guys that's still called the Saturday Night Barn Dance. And Uncle Dave, there was a picture of him up there somewhere, was a drunken stupor, which is why Doug is playing the part of Uncle Dave. No. None of that's true. But Uncle Dave Macon was the first guy to become a pretty big star off of the Grand Ole Opry. It was still called the Barn Dance at that time. And Doug will tell you a little of that and tell you what he's going to do.
Well, Uncle Jimmy took my cigar box, and I still had one in there, or else I'd have a cigar in my mouth right now. I'm going to do an old song called Cripple Creek. Got a girl that she loves me, she's as sweet as she can be. She's got eyes of baby blue. She's guns and sweet and true. Going up Cripple Creek, going on a run. Going up Cripple Creek, have some fun. Cripple Creek, going in a whirl. Going up Cripple Creek, see my girl. Cripple Creek said Cripple Creek's deep, and got way before I sleep. Roll my britches to my knees, I'll wait up Cripple Creek. Said, going up Cripple Creek, going on a run, going up Cripple Creek, have some fun. Going up Cripple Creek, going in a whirl, going up Cripple Creek, see my girl. Oh, nice boy! You look good.
That's Doug Stock, everybody. Nicely done. All right, anybody got any oxygen? So now what's happening is we start to notice that these guys who are on the radio, who started out just as a part of an advertisement, are all of a sudden starting to become famous. And now people start realizing, I need to go there, to Nashville, because I need to get on that Grand Ole Opry. So instead of being a part of the, like a commercial, there was a guy named Roy Acuff who moved to Nashville. And Roy Acuff is probably one of the most important people in country music, and I'll explain to you why as we get a little further along. But Roy moved to town as a singer, songwriter, and a fiddle player, and he came to Nashville to be on the Grand Ole Opry. When Roy came, they changed it to the Grand Ole Opry, and I don't remember the story on how they changed it. I probably should know that, but I don't. But anyway, we're going to give you a little Roy Acuff thing here. I got to move around and sit up. Y'all okay? Okay. Let me do this. Am I singing on this mic? On that one? I don't know. Whatever one I want. All right. I'm the boss, I guess. I know nothing. I'm not the boss.
We're still in AM radio days.
This is still AM radio, folks. And so Mr. Acuff comes to town. His band was famous in the Grand Ole Opry for many years as the Smoky Mountain Boys. That's what it was. Roy Acuff and the Smoky Mountain Boys, I think. But it was actually called Roy Acuff and the Crazy Tennesseans in the early days. And he was from the east part of Tennessee and moved to Nashville, got on the Grand Ole Opry. So here's a little tribute to Roy Acuff. All right. Wouldn't you know that's not on? There it is. Oh, yeah, it's just out there, right? Okay. Wish me luck. You want to start? Just whatever you start. From the great Atlantic Ocean to the wide Pacific shore, from the straight and flowing mountains to Southfield by the shore. She's mighty tall and handsome, and she's known quite well by all. She's a combination on the Wabash Cannonball. Why don't you listen to the jingle, the rumble, and the roar as she glides along the woodland through the hills and by the shore. She's mighty tall and handsome, and she's known quite well by all. She's a combination, she's a Wabash Cannonball. Douglas! Daddy Claxton, may his name forever stand. May he always be remembered through the South and all the land. His earthly race is over and the curtain on him fell. They carried him off to victory on the Wabash Cannonball. Why don't you listen to the jingle, the rumble, and the roar as she glides along the woodland through the hills and by the shore. She's mighty tall and handsome, and she's known quite well by all. She's a combination, she's a Wabash Cannonball tag. She's a combination on the Wabash Cannonball. I don't know about y'all, but that's the good stuff. If country music would have never progressed any further than that, I'd have been okay. But anyway, so Roy Acuff gets to town, and now the music business is starting because as WSM now starts playing records on their radio station as well. So instead of having all these advertisements, they start playing records. Roy Acuff decides to start a record company in Nashville. And one of the guys that they signed that got a record deal, they moved to town, was a guy named Bill Monroe. And Monroe was around, this is still in the late 30s. So this is not, when is it? What's today? I don't know what today is. What year is it now? Anyway, so it's not 2000 yet. So this is still in the 1930s. And remember, music, there's no drums. There's none of this stuff. It's all pretty much acoustic instruments. And Bill Monroe comes to town with a sound. I can't hardly sing today. I have voice issues. But Bill Monroe, pardon the pun, but he sang like a woman, really. Remember, he sang really high. So that guy got up there singing higher. And so it was a big deal. And he kind of, everybody knows Bill Monroe was the father of bluegrass music. He started his own sound, and that all started right there in Nashville, Tennessee, in kind of the late 30s. So I think we'll do a little thing, a little tribute to Bill Monroe, shall we? All right. Y'all still there? Yeah. You having a good time? Yeah. All right. Okay, yeah, same kind of intro, same key. Blue. Can we do this in A? Maybe I can sing better. It was on it. No, back in G, sorry. There's a picture of Bill right there. All right, this is Kermit the Frog doing Bill Monroe. Go. It's our whole thing, baby. I said, blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and left me blue. Well, blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and been untrue. Well, it was on a moonlit night, the stars were shining bright. She whispered on high, your love said goodbye. Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and been untrue. On a moonlit night, the stars were shining bright. She whispered on high, well, your love said goodbye. I said, blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and been untrue. Shine on the one that's gone and been untrue. That's Kevin Kingston on the upright bass, folks, right there. All right. So now things start changing again here in Nashville, and people are actually becoming able to have a career in the music business. And because of WSM being able to reach out all over the country, now these guys who were just little local stars like Uncle Dave Macon, so you imagine how big that radio frequency reached. I heard it up in Michigan when I was a little kid. So Roy Acuff has actually been on there so long that he's a huge star by the end of the late 1930s. And people in different areas, I don't know where y'all are from, but did y'all hear the Grand Ole Opry in different places where you were? I could hear it in Michigan when I was a little kid. Could you hear it? Where were you? Jail? What town? Sorry, I know. I thought I recognized you. Yeah. Where were you? Ohio? Yeah, so WSM reaches out. So now what happens, and this is the birth of this. It all starts, again, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. These guys now decide, listen, we're stars. We can go out on the road and play shows. So in the late 30s, Roy Acuff loads up in these cars, and you imagine what they were in the 30s, and starts driving around the country and putting on shows all over the country. And so he plays everywhere that radio station would reach. Roy Acuff from the Grand Ole Opry. Everybody thought, my gosh. So I'm from a little town outside of Saginaw, Michigan. And there was a guy doing the same thing in Saginaw, Michigan. And what he did was he went out and got a sponsor, and went to the radio station in Saginaw. The radio station was WSGW in Saginaw, Michigan. And he said, I've got a sponsor. Remember I told you radio's all about money. So I've got a sponsor, X amount of money, and the sponsor comes on, and I'm the entertainment. So this guy gets on the Saginaw radio show, and on Saturday night, you could hear the Grand Ole Opry sometimes, but then they'd do an advertisement, and you'd hear this guy. My dad actually had the opportunity to play a couple shows with him later on in the early 40s when he was a kid. This guy was Little Jimmy Dickens. And so everybody in Michigan says, Little Jimmy Dickens is from Michigan. He was actually from Parkersburg, West Virginia. But he came to Michigan, and that's where he was working. And so Roy Acuff did a show in Saginaw, Michigan, and he saw Little Jimmy Dickens. And without anything, he said, I got a place for you, sir. You need to move to Nashville, Tennessee, and I'll put you on the Grand Ole Opry. So Little Jimmy Dickens uproots in Saginaw, Michigan, moves to Nashville, Tennessee, and like that, he's a member of the Grand Ole Opry. So we're going to do, most of y'all know some Little Jimmy Dickens songs. There were tons of them. Take an Old Cold Tater and Wait, Sleeping at the Foot of the Bed. He did a ballad that was killer. What else did he do? Doug's going to do a song. You got Little Jimmy Dickens. You got a suggestion? What? What's that? Bird of Paradise. Hey, yeah, the Bird of Paradise. When I was a little kid, my mom said I won a talent contest singing the Bird of Paradise, like when I was 10 years old. All right, so Doug's going to do you a little, I got that pink strap on there from last night. It's terrible. Doug's going to do you some Little Jimmy Dickens.
Hey, but just a little out of the way.
Oh, you're going to, like, flail or something?
Oh, yeah, Little Jimmy got kind of wild.
Let me get out of the way.
You know what? If I'm going to do Little Jimmy Dickens, could you mute this for just a second?
Somehow I know where this is going. There's some pictures of Little Jimmy Dickens up there. You can see him standing by Ricky Skaggs right there. You can see he was really short. All right, Doug.
He was a midget, right?
Oh, he was 4'11". Little Jimmy was 4'11". He first got introduced on the Grand Ole Opry stage in 1948. He had 85 single releases, and this is certainly one of them. He was a member of the Hall of Fame, of course. And so hang on and we'll get started. Tell you all about my education out behind the barn. My pappy used to tan my hide out behind the barn. He taught me to be dignified out behind the barn. When he took his strap to me, it sure did hurt my dignity. Almost hurt my dignity out behind the barn. I smoked my first cigarette out behind the barn. And that's one day I won't forget out behind the barn. I got sick, should have seen. Tobacco turned me green. Almost died of nicotine out behind the barn. I got my education out behind the barn. I ain't a fool in no survey. Passed examinations out behind the barn, and it almost made a wreck out of me. Hey, Peter. I met a pretty girl one day out behind the barn. She wanted me to stay and play out behind the barn. She taught me how to kiss and pet. That's one game I can't forget, 'cause we still play that same game yet out behind the barn. I wish that I could go again out behind the barn and do the things I used to do out behind the barn. Now you might think that it's no fun, about independent farmer's son. You don't know the things I've done out behind the barn. I got my education out behind the barn. I ain't a fool in no survey. Passed his examinations out behind the barn, and it almost made a Thank you. Go ahead and mute this.
Thank
That's
you,
Doug
little Jimmy.
Stock, y'all. So you know there's been some changes here at the Grand Ole Opry. I mean, at the Orange Blossom Opry. And they said, well, you know, one of the things we're going to do is probably not make this quite so hokey, and we're going to try to maybe make the music a little more towards the 90s. And here we got guys playing on their knees, singing out behind the barn. All right.
I can keep my job.
That's right. Oh, there's a joke in there. I'll let go. Well, so anyway, as you can see now, in the 1940s, there's actually country music stars. People are becoming stars. And the way to become a star is to move to Nashville, Tennessee, and figure some way to get on that Grand Ole Opry and get a record out or do something. Remember, he said in late 48, Jimmy Dickens was signed. So things are beginning to take off in country music in the 40s. There's Little Jimmy Dickens. There's Roy Acuff. There's a lot of guys, Bill Monroe. Guys are becoming legitimate country music stars, and mostly because of the Grand Ole Opry, and most because Mr. Acuff is signing these guys, and they're coming to town, and they're getting record deals, they're writing songs. I'll tell you a little bit about that if I don't get too far out in the weeds, because I don't want to do that. But what I do want to tell you, as long as the Grand Ole Opry was on, now the Grand Ole Opry has turned into a full-night show by the 40s. They've moved into, they moved a couple different places, actually, but they moved into an old war memoriam auditorium that was downtown Nashville in the 40s, and there it is right there. And you can see the people lined up. This is in the 40s to get in to see the Grand Ole Opry. People are coming from all over the United States now to see the Grand Ole Opry because they want to see the people that they hear on the radio and see their stars. That was before it was called the Ryman Auditorium. It was called War Memorial Auditorium. It was actually a big old church. Well, anyway, so the show is now on Saturday night, and it's kicking, and they've got lots of guests, and they've got lots of people, and they decide, you know what we need some comedy. Now, I also want to tell you, folks, this is in the late 40s right now, and there's still no girls on the Grand Ole Opry. Mr. Acuff was a very conservative man, and he didn't want, there was no cussing, no swearing, no drinking, all of that stuff. He was against all of that, and he actually didn't want women on the Grand Ole Opry. There was a lady in the 40s that got on there named Wilma Lee and Stoney Cooper. She was on there, but it was late in the 40s, early 50s before a woman actually got signed to the Grand Ole Opry, and we'll tell you about that a little later. But anyway, they decided they needed some comedy, so they up came a lady named Sarah Cannon, that was her real name. She was Minnie Pearl, very good. And, of course, Grandpa Jones, he was Grandpa Jones. He looked like Grandpa Jones when he was in his 20s, and then Then he looked like Grandpa Jones all the way along. So there was another guy, and I tried to change this show up. How many of y'all were here the first time we did this? A lot. Okay. The hardest thing about doing this show is there's so many people, y'all, and I'm just trying to hopscotch and hit some of the bigger folks because there's tons of people that I'm leaving out. I'm trying to do some different people from what we did the time before. So there's a couple we can't leave out. So we left out Grandpa Jones and Minnie Pearl on this show because we had them on the last show. But there was another big comedian that was a banjo player who was also on the Grand Ole Opry. Do y'all know who he was? Who? That's right, String Bean. There he is right there, String Bean. And so...
What happened to him?
Well, he put his pants in the dryer. My pants looked like that my whole life till they started making them long. And then now I can't get them long enough. Anyway, we're going to do a little tribute to String Bean here. I believe. Are we not? We have Mr. String Bean here himself, or the closest thing we could get to it. Come on out here, son.
Howdy, ain't been on 30 years. Feels pretty good. I told everybody when I come in, I'll be walking into Nashville, but when I be leaving, I'll be driving a Cadillac. Well, I ain't the real String Bean, so I don't know how to play banjo, but he does. So this String Bean tonight's going to play that.
Be careful now. Don't rip anything.
Yeah, you know, String Bean, he did a lot of songs, man. I was like trying to figure out what am I going to do. You know, chewing gum and going fishing song and all that. But I found this one here. Turn this. So I kept looking over videos and found he did Mountain Dew. So I said, let's do Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew.
But you know, he was really noted for his banjo playing and his comedy. Remember Letters from Home? And then, of course, he had a big career on Hee Haw. So,
All right.
here we go, boys. We in the key, eh?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, how sweet it is. Yeah, down the road from here, there's a hollow tree. We'll lay down $1 or 2. We'll go round the bend, you come back again with that good old Mountain Dew. Sing it with me. Coming on that good Mountain Dew. No, then that refuse it off you. I'll shut up my mug if I fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. I'll play it, boy. Yeah, my old Aunt June got new perfume. Oh, it had a sense of soothe. Her a surprise, she had it analyzed. It was good old Mountain Dew. Called it that good old Mountain Dew. Oh, then that refuse it off you. I hush up my mug if I fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. I'll play it, boy. Thank you. You're very wise. Yeah, my Uncle Art, he's sawed off and short. He measures about 4'2". But he thinks he's a giant when he gets him a pint of that good old Mountain Dew. Well, the good old Mountain Dew. Oh, then that refuse it off you. I'll shut up my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. Go on. Well, they call it good old Mountain Dew. Oh, those that refuse it off you. Well, I'll hush up my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. Yeah, I'll shut up my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. That's right. There we go.
String bean. Woo!
Hey, Kevin, would you run on back there and get me?
Bobby, I don't run nowhere in these things.
That's Kevin Kingston, y'all. Give it up for Kevin.
Go slow, man. You don't want to rip
Yeah.
anything.
Good grief. That was pretty funny, wasn't it? All right. So we got the string bean established. Hold on a second. Too much stuff to plug in up here. All right. So now the Grand Ole Opry, as you know, is pretty acoustic sounding, as you can see. There was a big rule that there was no drums allowed on the Grand Ole Opry. They wouldn't let drums on the Grand Ole Opry. I don't know why they ever took that law away. Those were the good old days, weren't they? Anyway, no drums. And for a long time, no electric guitar. They didn't want electric guitar. For a long time, no horns. And, of course, we all know about...
No people, right?
Yeah, no people. No girls. So, remember I told you about they're making records, and now these country music radio stations are starting to appear all around the country. The first radio station we had in my hometown was a station called WXOX. It was only a small AM radio station. Country music wasn't necessarily that popular, but in the 40s, it started getting popular, excuse me. And so there's this old guy that comes out of Texas, and he gets on the radio because he writes a pretty good song. He's got a pretty low voice, and people like him. And his name was Ernest Tubb. And I got a couple of stories to tell you about Ernest Tubb. So Ernest has the first record that is played on every radio station in the United States. So technically the first #1 record that was played on all the radio stations. Welcome back, String. and there was a little problem with that song because the song had not only drums, but it had electric guitar in it. And so here's a guy with one of the biggest records in the nation, and the Grand Ole Opry says, well, we don't let drums on the radio station. We don't let, Opry, we don't let guitars. And Ernest Tubb basically said, well, you do if I'm going to play, because I got a band, and that's what we have is all of that. So anyway, so they finally decided to let Ernest on the Grand Ole Opry. Ernest had a couple impressive things that I'll tell you. He had a great a bass player. Does anybody know who Ernest Tubb's bass player was? So remember, people are going to Nashville now doing anything they can to become country music stars. Get on the Grand Ole Opry, get hooked up with somebody, anything just to get, in the business. It was still that way. I moved to Nashville. That's what I did. I got a job with Leroy Van Dyke and Charlie Rich. Okay, so playing bass for Ernest Tubb, Mr. Willie Nelson. Yep. Playing drums, I don't know if you all remember a guy named Jack Green, but Jack Green was the drummer for Ernest Tubb. So I got one other quick story that I'll tell you. That's probably a personal story, but when I was in high school in 12th grade. Now remember, these guys have got records out. These guys are on the radio. These guys are traveling all around the country, and Ernest Tubb was a big deal. When I was in high school in 1970, that's actually summer of 1969, my little band that I played with got to open for Ernest Tubb and a lady named Norma Jean. It was my first big show in a place called Frontier City in Jackson, Michigan. And I was the biggest cat in the whole world, man, because I was opening for Ernest Tubb, who to me was the Beatles. And so I had that picture and I lost it somewhere. So we take a picture with all his band. Now remember, those guys all dressed out. Remember, they wore fancy jackets and looked like $1 million. Even the bus driver. And the bus driver who drove bus and sold merchandise. So I got a picture of Ernest Tubb and all of these guys in the band, including the bus driver, which was a big deal to me. That was in 1970. In 1984, maybe 1985, that bus driver came to work for me and drove bus for a band called Sawyer Brown, and he worked for us for about 7 years. I know every Ernest Tubb story that there is. So I used to sit up at night and have him tell me stories, and anyway, that's probably a little more information you need to know. But here's are we doing this in E?
Yep.
With my big old Gretsch guitar. Ready? You left me and you went away. You said that you'd be back in just a day. You've broken your promise and you left me here alone. I don't know what you did, dear, but I do know that you're gone. I'm walking the floor over you. I can't sleep awake, that is true. I'm hoping and I'm praying that my heart breaks right in two. Walking the floor over you. Guitar. Now, darling, you know I love you well. I love you more than I could ever tell. I thought that you loved me and always would be mine, but you went away and left me with troubles on my mind. I'm walking the floor over you. Can't sleep awake, that is true. I'm hoping and I'm praying that my heart breaks right in two. Walking the floor over you. Tag it out, yeah. Walking the floor tub. So hopefully what we're trying to get across to you folks is you can hear when the Grand Ole Opry started in the 20s, and now we're in the 50s and moving on into the mid-50s, you can hear how the music's starting to change. The electric guitar became a really important part of the country music, as well as the pedal steel guitar. And that's a whole nother story over there that, well, he alone is another story. But you'll see that on Forensic Files at some point. No, but the pedal steel was also becoming, and I don't even want to get into that because I play pedal steel and I have a love for it. Doug Stock's probably one of the finest pedal steel guitars around anywhere. And so the instruments and the instrumentation is starting to change. And the people at the Grand Ole Opry aren't really liking it. And you think, well, they did, but they really went kicking and scratching. They didn't like the guitars. They were okay with the steel, but they didn't like the drums at all. Now, I can see why about that. But anyway, so this next guy that joined the Grand Ole Opry, I'm going to let Kevin tell you about him because he probably knows more. But the only thing I know about him is he was the father of a great country music singer who sang right here on this stage.
That's right. He was called a country crooner, Orange Blossom Opry member. But he was Grand Ole Opry member since 1948. He was the last to sing at the Ryman Auditorium before they moved the Opry to the new Grand Opry House. And a week later, he was the first to host it. And yes, his daughter is Lori. So who are we talking about? George Morgan. Okay, all right. So we're going to do his number one hit, 1949, called Candy Kisses. Candy kisses wrapped in paper mean more to you than any of mine. Candy kisses wrapped in paper, you'd rather have them any old time. You don't mean it when you whisper those sweet love words in my ears. Candy kisses wrapped in paper mean more to you than mine do, dear. Build a castle out of dreams, dear. I thought that you were building too. Now my castle all have fallen, and I am left alone and blue. Once my heart was filled with sadness, now there's sadness, only tears. Candy kisses wrapped in paper mean more to you than mine do, dear. Yeah,
That's Kevin Kingston, everybody. It's time now, just like the real Opry, that we take a little short break right now. We're going to take a break. You can go out. Hey, check out some of the new shows that are coming here to the Orange Blossom Opry. Get a chance to pick up some tickets here on the break if you want. The Melissa Lee Show, that's next Saturday night here. Today you can get 2 tickets for the price of 1. Check out some other stuff. We'll be right back. Y'all don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. How's it going? You all right? That jacket's too hot, so I had to take it off. All right. What about you new folks? Having a good time? Yep. All right. This your first time? No? Just having a good time. It's the first time you remember. That's all right. That's all right. I've been there. Well, anyway, again, tonight's show is a little bit different because we're doing a tribute to a story at the Grand Ole Opry. Usually we have music and a bunch of other crazy stuff. So you new folks, we hope you're enjoying yourself, and we want to invite you to always come back. All right, what about the old folks? You having a good time?
Welcome back.
All right, let me take just a second before we get started. What? What about the young girls? Come on, girls. I want to take a second before we go any further to introduce one of the finest bands I've ever had the pleasure of being a member of. Please say hello to Mr. Peter George on the keyboards and piano. This talented young man right here, his name is Kevin Kingston. Say hello to Kevin. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the CEO of the Pretty Boy Club. There he is back there, all in handsome self. Say hello to Mr. Todd Bowers. Our band director, he plays all of these instruments, and he plays them all extremely well. Please say hello to Mr. Doug Stock. My name is Bobby Randall, and we'll get moving along, okay? I got to figure out what I'm going to get here before we get our guest out. Get my place in here. I'm old, and it takes me a while to get moving around here. So let's play this. Yeah. I got shoes on tonight, so that's kind of a...
Not only that, I was going to tell you your fly was down, but that's okay.
Well, my fly's open. Well, I know that. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was actually in the early 50s before they actually signed a female to the Grand Ole Opry. Now, here's what started to happen. The Opry starts having problems around the 50s because they're making records now, and some of these folks are becoming stars, and they don't need the Grand Ole Opry. There's stuff going on in Texas. There's guys going on in Texas making records, Ernest Tubb for one. And now, instead of the Grand Ole Opry being the main dog, you got to be here to be a star. Now these guys are becoming big country music stars because of records and radio and eventually TV. And then, now the Grand Ole Opry's left kind of trying to get them on. So it inevitably, we finally got some girls on the Grand Ole Opry in the 50s. And ladies and gentlemen, a young lady, a friend of mine, is going to come out and sing a couple of songs. Please say hello to Miss Rebecca May.
Howdy, folks. Thank you. As I sit here tonight, the jukebox playing the tune about the wild side of life. As I listen to the words you are saying, it brings memories when I was a trusting wife. It wasn't God who made honky-tonk angels, as you said in the words of your song. Too many times married men think they are single, and it's caused many a good girl to go wrong. How about that steel player, folks? It's a shame that all the blame is on us women. It's not true that only you men feel the same. But from the start, most every heart that's ever broken, it's because there always was a man to blame. It wasn't God who made honky-tonk angels, as you said in the words of your song. Too many times married men think they are single, and it's caused many Thank y'all so much. That song propelled Kitty Wells. You know that she was one of the very first female singers that recorded that song in the 1950s, and it was a #1 hit. So that's pretty cool when you think about that back in the 1950s. That was a couple years ago. Hey, we're gonna do another song here. This next song was in 1962. This became a hit, and it reached top 5 in 4 different charts, including #2 on the Billboard 100s. This is a Skeeter Davis song. Why does the sun go on shining? Why does the sea rush to shore? Don't they know it's the end of the world? Because you don't love me anymore. Why do the birds go on singing? Why do the stars glow above? Don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when I lost your love. I wake up in the morning and I wonder why everything's the same as it was. I can't understand, no, I can't understand how life goes on the way it does. Why does my heart go on beating? Why do these eyes of mine cry? Don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when you said goodbye. Why does my heart go on beating? Why do these eyes of mine cry? Don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when you said goodbye.
That's Rebecca May, y'all. How about those Tigers? All right. All right. Anyway, all right, we're moving along. So I told you that these other guys start becoming stars. And they get on the records and they become big stars. And now the Grand Ole Opry wants them. And then they're going, well, you're too this or you're too that for the Grand Ole Opry. You know, there was a couple guys, believe it or not, they wouldn't let Merle Haggard and Buck Owens on there. They thought they were too rock and roll. But the next guy I'm talking about was this guy was a wild man. He was a crazy man. And he became, look how many things I can carry at once. I ought to sit down. I'm an old man. So anyway, in Memphis, there was this little thing called Sun Records. And this cat down there starts making records in Memphis on all of these guys named Jerry Lee Lewis. And what was that one guy's name? Yeah, Elvis. Yeah. Anyway, so was another cat comes up, and he shows up down there, and this guy was a wild man. We've got some pictures of him. I picked out a couple real special ones. Let me see if my guitar's working, Kevin. I got to go back there. You say, hey, Kevin, because we're talking about who?
Hey, the man in black. Who is that? Who? No, Dracula. No, yeah, Johnny Cash. That's right.
Yeah, Dracula.
Hello.
All right.
So, Here's a song. Sue it. I taught the weeping willow how to cry, and I showed how to cover up a clear blue sky. And those tears I cried for that woman are gonna flood you, big river, 'cause I'm gonna sit right here till I die. Well, I met her accidentally in St. Paul, Minnesota. It tore me up every time I heard her draw that southern drawl. Then I heard my dream was back downstream and walking down the pole. And I followed you, a big river, once you called, oh, Sue it. Then you took me to St. Louis later on down the river. Afraid he says that she's been there, but she's gone, boy, she's gone. I found a trail in Memphis, but she just walked up the block. She raised a few eyebrows and took on down. Now won't you batter down Baton Rouge, River Queen rolling on, to take that woman on down to New Orleans, New Orleans. Go down to Denton Jones, down by the river on the go. She loves you, big river, more than me. Always. Then I taught the weeping willow how to cry. Yes, I did. Showed the clouds how to cover up that glitter blue sky. And the tears I cried for that woman are gonna flood you, big river. I'm gonna sit right down till I die. Yeah, 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 I'm gonna sit right down till I die. Radio.
Did you see all those Johnny Cash pictures? Did you show the Johnny Cash pictures? I was trying to pay attention when I was playing on the guitar. Yeah, there's not my favorite. Where's my favorite? There you go. Johnny Cash, they actually, whatever. So he was a while. They didn't really want him on there. I guess Elvis was on there one time, and they chucked him. Remember, at this time, Roy Acuff is still kind of running the shows. He's a very conservative Southern Baptist guy, and wasn't putting up with a lot of that nonsense. So, kind of like this place. And I'm Catholic. So, I don't know why it always gets a laugh. I say I'm Catholic, everybody. I went to Catholic school. That's what's wrong with me. All right, so anyway, so we're moving along here in the 50s. Everybody knows Hank Williams came to town. I could hardly leave Hank Williams out. I did. There's some incredible stories about Hank Williams. He came to town, and I told you Mr. Acuff and a guy named Fred Rose have now started another company that nobody had ever heard of in country music before. And it's called a publishing company, and they sign guys to write songs. Originally, the guys came to town, they wrote their own songs, and they played their own songs, but they found out that, as you may know, not everybody that's a good songwriter is a good singer, and not everybody that's a good singer is a good songwriter. So, and that still holds true today. I know many, many songwriters that can't sing a lick and have written some incredible songs. So when Hank Williams came to town, we're not going to play any Hank Williams songs, but when he came to town, he played all his songs for Wesley Rose and Mr. Acuff, and they said, we don't believe you wrote all these songs. And they sent him in. I said, you go in that room over there and write a song. And I wish I could remember, but he came out of there in 45 minutes and had written I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry or something like that. So crazy, crazy stuff. So anyway, Hank Williams is now a pretty big star. He's got a roommate. He's got a buddy that's living with him, and he wants to be on the Grand Ole Opry, and he wants to be a star. He's a pretty handsome guy, and he's from the state of Texas. And the interesting thing to tell you about this song is I told you about the pedal steel player. The pedal steel was really, really a dominant instrument in country music. There was a guy named Ralph Mooney who was playing on all these records. He was in the house band at Capitol Records, so when you got signed on those early Buck Owens records, that was Ralph Mooney. On the early Merle Haggard records, that was Ralph Mooney. Doug can tell you more about it. He was on Wayland Records. Well, Ralph Mooney writes a song and shows up and says, hey, I got a song. And they say, we've got an artist. A guy I'm talking about, his name is Ray Price. And one of his first songs goes like this. It was written by a steel player by the name of Ralph Mooney. Now blue ain't the word for the way that I feel. And this storm is brewing in this heart of mine. This ain't no crazy dream, I know that it's real. You're someone else's love now, you're not mine. Crazy arms that reach to hold somebody new, but my yearning heart keeps saying you're not mine. My troubled mind knows soon to another you'll be with. And that's why I'm lonely all the time. Play the whole thing, Doug, come on. That's Doug Stock, y'all, come on. Come on, son, play it. So please, take these treasured dreams I had for you and me. Take all the love I thought was mine. Someday these crazy arms will hold somebody new. But now I'm so lonesome all the time. Crazy arms that reach to hold somebody new, but my yearning heart keeps saying you're not mine. My troubled mind knows soon to another you'll be with, and that's why I'm lonely all the time. Yeah, you're someone else's love now, you're not mine.
Bobby Randall, yeah.
You know, when it was so good, why did they change it? I hate that new stuff. I grew up on country music, y'all, and I grew up, my daddy was a singer, and I just grew up listening to that stuff, and it just got in my bones, I guess, for some reason or another. Anyway, another old boy from Georgia moved to Nashville. And the funny thing about this fella is they said they brought him in the studio because he sang really cool. And so they'd cut a record and they'd say, boy, you know, you sound like so-and-so here. Well, you sound like somebody. They could never figure out. It said it took him a long time to figure out who he was. He said, you don't sound like anybody. You sound like everybody. And he said, well, you got to discover your own voice. So this guy discovered his own voice by far. His name is Mr. George Jones. And y'all know that country music wouldn't be country music without George Jones. And speaking of George, is this in G, like as in George?
Yeah, George.
We call upon old String Bean again.
Wish me luck. I feel tears welling up, going deep inside like my heart from a big leap. And I stab along in the shocking pain, oh, I may never share. You might say I was taking it hard when you wrote me off the call. Don't you wager that I'll have a sorrow when I may break right down and dawn. race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch. Heartache going to the inside. My tears are holding back, trying not to fall. My heart's bound no running, true love scratch for another's sake. The race is on and it looks like heartaches, and the winner loses all. I've been shaded love, never walks expecting what the final results would be. Now I live in fear, waking up each morning, finding that you're gone from me. Things and pain in my heart, the day was a one I hated to face. Somebody new came out the winner, and I came out in second place. Well, the race is on, and here comes pride in the backstretch. Heartaches going to the inside. My tears are holding back. I try not to fall. My heart's out of the running. True love scratched for another's sake. The race is on, and it looks like heartaches, and the winner loses all. Yeah, the winner loses all. Oh, the possum. Thank you much.
The race is on. I love that song. I recorded that song in 1990 with a little band called Sawyer Brown. We had a big record on that. One of the fun things. All right, so here's some kind of part of the show I forgot. We'll tell you about as we go here. Make sure that I guess I'm there. All right. So in the 40s, if you saw the guitar I played earlier, it was kind of a fat box guitar. That's what everybody played, and everybody played Gibsons a lot. That was the big guitar. Gibsons were made, by the way, in Kalamazoo, Michigan, for many years. Any Michigan folks? All right. Well, actually, and you know, in the big band, I think is where it started. Peter may know more about this than I do. The bands and the horns and the drums were so loud that the guitars, they couldn't be heard. So they started putting, you know, pickups in those big old thick guitars. And if you look in the early 40s, you'll see that just about everybody in Ernest Tubbs' band, there was a guy named Hank Thompson. All those guys played Gibson guitars, and all those guys played those kind of hollow body, bless you, sir. All those guys played those kind of hollow body, mine's a Gretsch, but they were Gibsons. Well, one thing about that guitar, if you turn it up too loud, it'll start feeding back. It's a weird thing. I don't know what it is, but if you turn them up loud, they'll get real noisy. So somebody on the West Coast by the name of by the name of Leo Fender, I got my coasts mixed up, Leo Fender, somebody on the East Coast named Les Paul, start messing around with solid body guitars like this, a solid slab of wood. And I think it probably did it not come from the steel? Because the old lap steels that they played were a piece of wood, and you could turn those up anyway. For some reason, they start messing around with flat body guitars like this. I think during the Buck Owens era, when Buck Owens became popular out in California, Leo Fender went to him, and he told him, we will give you guitars if you will play Fender guitars, because they were trying to get into the country music side of things. So they gave Buck, if you ever seen Buck Owens in the Buckaroos, you ever saw Don Rich? Did you ever see anything? You did? You all alive? Hello? Say, yeah, real loud. All right, y'all shake your feet and your hands a little bit. Make sure you're there. All right, well, anyway, when I was a little boy, I loved Buck Owens, and I loved Merle Haggard. And believe it or not, those guys weren't allowed on the Grand Ole Opry. They were too rock and roll when they first came out. Can you imagine Merle Haggard being too rock for the Opry? And so was Buck Owens. So when I was I guess I was about 9th grade or something, 10th grade, there was a guy who's watching, by the way, Butch. You're watching up there in Saginaw, Michigan. I love you. When I was a little kid, I used to go see this guy named Butch Heath and the Ravens, and his guitar player had a blonde Telecaster guitar like this. And so did Don Rich from the Buckaroos. So I saved every penny I could. And in 1969, I bought this guitar that I still have today, banging around on. And I bought the Telecaster guitar because it's got that telly sound. And so we're going to pay a little tribute to the Telecaster and the Telecaster guitar. If you're a big Buck Owens fan, you'll remember this song. Remember when they used to have instrumentals on the radio? They had Floyd Kramer stuff. They don't do that anymore. They have pure noise on the radio. But anyway, this is what caused me to buy this guitar when I was in 11th grade last year. All right, Wichita, count it up. I don't know what it is, but that music makes me crazy. Do you not like it? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm an old hillbilly. Anyway, I can't tell you all the stories about this guitar, but I can tell you that I'm writing a book called The Ride, and it's all the places that this guitar has taken me since 1969. And it's been lots of places. Never to jail, but around the world in many, many countries from all over the place. And
Yet.
Yeah. The night's not over yet, and I'm drinking. No, that's not true. The boss is watching either. I don't even drink. So anyway, but it's been good to me, and I bought it, saved all my money and bought it in 1969, I think it was, at Schaefer's Music in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. All right, enough of that. So again, we're trying to pick some guys that we didn't feature on the first show. This guy, and Kevin could tell you a little bit about him. They called him the Southern Gentleman. Do you have any idea who that would be?
Sonny James.
Who?
That's right, Sonny James. Yeah.
Yeah, let me get my cape.
Yeah, go ahead. 1962, Grand Old Opry member. He hosted the first Country Music Awards show in 1967. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, now you do. There will be a test on all this tonight when you're all down here. 16 number one singles. And this was like the first country crossover to pop song. Anybody know what that is?
No.
Tiptoe Through the Tulips. No, that's the wrong guy. Well, it's called Young Love, so sing it with me if you know it. They say for every boy and girl there's just one love in this world, and I know I've found mine. The heavenly touch of your embrace tells me no one can take your place ever in my heart. Young love, first love, be share with deep emotion. Next stock, everybody. Well, just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell me that your love is real, and I can feel that it's true. We will vow to one another, there will never be another love for you and me. Young love, first love, filled with true devotion. Young love, our love, shared with deep devotion.
KK, Kevin Kingston, y'all. Now, I also heard that, Nashville was known for, when they started making these records, of getting a pool of musicians. You hear them called studio musicians, and they were incredible. I can't take anything away from them. And a lot of those guys played on everybody's records. And some guys became famous for playing on records with Elvis and everybody else. But Sonny James was a guy, when he went to town, I believe that he told Mr. Chet Atkins, it might have been, just said, I'm playing my own guitar and on my own records. So all those early Sonny James records that you hear, that was Sonny James playing guitar, his own guitar, on his own records. So there's a tidbit of information from a guy that wears a pink guitar strap. It's left down there from yesterday, so y'all leave me alone. All right. So actually, the 50s and the 60s is when country music and the Grand Ole Opry really started to take off. You all remember the 50s music. It was all, doo-wop and hair like mine. Well, if you combed it out, it would have been. They had it all piled up everywhere. So did I, though, for a while. But country music really took off, as did the Grand Ole Opry, and all of a sudden, women Women started becoming very popular. And there's always been this myth. As a matter of fact, it's going on right now in country music that, I don't know if you listen to today's country music. I don't. But there's not a lot of women. So they kind of come and go. And it's difficult for women, I guess, to get in there and to connect with an audience for some reason. I don't know. I loved a bunch of them. But a couple. I liked their music. My name is Tonto Rodriguez. Were you here last night? That was my best joke ever. The boss called me about 2 in the morning. What do you suppose the boss said to me when he called me last night? 2 things, probably listened tonight. Tonto Rodriguez, really? I said, well, boss, it was funny, wasn't it? He said, well, it was funny. He said, but I'll tell you what I didn't find too funny. I said, what's that? Gorilla? There was a guy dressed as a gorilla last night. We had a costume party here, and I said, you look like Roger Byers, who's the owner of the thing. Hey! I could have done it to somebody else. There was a lot of characters here. They're gorillas. So I love you, Roger. Yeah, what's that? Yeah. The phone will ring again tonight. I'm pretty sure about 2 in the morning. I look down there. It's in my phone. It says Roger the boss. And I look down there and go, oh, Lord. Anyway, we love them. So let's bring Rebecca May back out. How about that, y'all? Round of applause for Rebecca May. Come on, pretty girl. Get out here. And you can talk for yourself.
Thank y'all. How you doing again tonight? It's good to see y'all out there tonight. And do y'all like Loretta Lynn? You do. Well, awesome. So do I. This was a 1969 hit of Loretta Lynn's. It's made her. She is one of the most awarded country music female artists of all time. So here is a 1969 hit for you. Well, I was gonna cold
cabin on a hill in Butcher Holler. We were poor, but we had love. That's the one thing that Daddy made sure of. He shoveled coal to make a poor man's dollar. My daddy worked all night in a Bentley coal mine, all day long in the field of hoeing coal. Mama rocked the babies at night, read the Bible by the coal line. Everything would start all over come break of morn. Daddy loved and raised 8 kids on a miner's pay. Mommy washed their clothes on a washboard every day. Why, I've seen her fingers bleed. To complain there was no need. She'd smile at Mommy's understanding way. Well, a lot of things have changed since way back then. It's so good to be back home again. Not much left but the folks. Nothing lived here anymore, except the memories of a coal miner's daughter. Well, I'm proud to be a coal miner's daughter. I remember well the well where I drew water. The work we done was hard, and life would sleep 'cause we were tired. Never thought of ever leaving Butcher Holler. Well, a lot of things have changed since way back then. And it's so good to be back home again. Not much left but the floors. Nothing lives here anymore, except the memories of a coal miner's daughter.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you. Hey, you know, I gotta find out. I was supposed to have a Ricky and Gina. Hey, hi. I met those guys back in the spring, just so y'all know. And, you know, you can go say hi to them. They'd like that, too. And I have my friend Bev here, and I don't know if Stillman's here tonight. Stillman, you're here? You're supposed to be. Well, anyway, hi out there on Facebook if you're not. That's okay. All right, so this next tune right here was a 1966 hit from Jeannie Seely. We're going to do that song right here, right now, folks. She was here just a little while ago, Bobby tells me, so I missed that.
Your hand is like a torch. Each time you touch me, the love in your eye pulls me apart. But don't love me, then act as though we've never kissed. Don't touch me if you don't love me, sweetheart. Your kiss is like a drink when I'm thirsty. Oh, I'm thirsty for you with all my heart. Don't love me, then act as though we'd never kissed. Don't touch me if you don't love me, sweetheart. and act as though we've never kissed. Don't touch me if you don't love me, sweetheart. Oh, don't touch me if you don't love me, sweetheart.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate these guys. Can you give these guys a hand? Aren't they wonderful? Yeah, they've been so polite to actually play behind me and not run off the stage, so thanks, folks. Thank y'all. Hey, we're going to do another song here. This was a big hit for Connie Smith. Y'all like Connie Smith, too? Yes. This was written by Whisper and Bill Anderson, and she recorded this back in 1965. We're going to do that song here.
When you found somebody new, I thought I never would forget you, alright, but then I never could. But time has taken all the pains away. Until now, I'm down to hurting once a day. Once a day.
Once a day,
All day long.
all day long.
And once a night.
Once a night,
From dusk till dawn.
just till dawn.
The only time I wish you were gone is once a day, every day, all day long. I'm so glad I'm not like a girl I knew one time. She lost the one she loved, then slowly lost her mind. She sat around and cried her life away. Lucky me, I'm only crying once a day. Once a day.
Once a day,
All day long.
all day long.
And once a night. From dusk till dawn.
Just till dawn.
The only time I wish you were gone is once a day, every day, all day long. Once a day, every day, all day long. Thank y'all. Thank you so much.
That's Rebecca
you.
May, everybody.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
She'll be back. All right. Good job. Well, we might be running out of songs, so we may have to improvise a little bit. But y'all don't care, right? Let's see. You know, let's see which guitar. I guess I'll play this guitar. She was telling the story about Bill Anderson wrote that song. A lot of guys were moving to Nashville at that point. Look at all the things I can do in balance. I can do it all on one foot. Even at my age, I can still balance on one foot. Anyway, Bill Anderson was one of those guys who moved to Nashville to be a songwriter. He didn't think he was ever going to be a singer. And he made many records on his own, but Once a Day was one of the great songs he wrote. I want to tell you a story about songwriting, but I also want to tell you something else about the Orange Blossom Opry, why I'm fiddling around here figuring out what I'm doing. How about a round of applause for the Orange Blossom Opry and Roger Byers? He's not here. Not only do they have some of the best folks around, and this is probably, like I said, one of the best bands, but they're going to bring Connie Smith right here for you all. Bill Anderson himself will be right here. Jeannie Seeley was just here. All the great country stars will be right here on this stage coming up this year. And that deserves a round of applause for the guys for bringing it. All right, my guitar's working. All right, so here's a great Grand Ole Opry story. I told you I grew up partially in Utah and partially in Michigan. My mom's from Utah, so I spent a lot of time going back and forth. My mom's a Mormon. My dad's a Catholic. I'm really confused. But that's another show that we'll be having here with Chris Golden. Will be here with his gospel show later on this month, and maybe he can get you straightened out. But anyway, I think you all remember this. Do you all remember sitting there listening to the Grand Ole Opry, and the dadgum thing would go on and go off, and then it'd go out? Did that happen to you? It'd be on, and it'd be working, you'd be going, you'd be grooving along. I had to listen to the Grand Ole Opry in an old 65 pickup truck that I had. I could pick it up on the radio out in the driveway. Well, there was a guy that grew up partially in Kentucky, but had moved to Detroit, Michigan. His name may not ring a bell to you. His name was Harlan Howard. And Harlan Howard loved the Grand Ole Opry when he was a kid. And so he would turn it on up there at Detroit, whatever that radio station was, listening to it, trying to get the Opry, or WSM it might have been. And he said he wanted to sing. So he'd write down the words to the songs. He'd be writing, the singer would go away, be out. He couldn't get the words. And so he said, well, he got tired of doing that, so he just made up the words himself. And I've done that right here on stage when I forget them. I'll write it right now. They won't know. And Harlan Howard, I won't go into a whole story about him. But he moved to Nashville because what he said was he started writing down the words to these songs because he couldn't hear them all. The singer would go out and the radio would go out. Finally, just started filling in the lines. Then he said, oh, heck with it. I'll just write my own songs. And you all need to Google Harlan Howard sometime, because Harlan Howard became, because of the Grand Ole Opry, one of the most successful songwriters ever to be in Nashville. He wrote tons and tons of songs that you can look up for your own to see what he did. But the story about this was, so he gets to town, and he gets with Mr. Acuff and with Mr. Rose, and he plays them a couple of his songs. And they go, well, I don't know. So they would sign these guys not as singers, but as writers. So this guy here will have a whole bunch of people in this office that write songs and a bunch of people here that sing, and then they'll match them up. So this guy named Charlie Walker comes out of Texas, and he's a fine singer, and he was a disc jockey as well. And they said, well, there's this old boy that thinks he can write songs named Harlan Howard. So they take one of his songs, and they team him up with this guy named Charlie Walker, and they both had their first #1 record. On this song, what is this song? Okay, I got it. It's in E. And Doug will kick it off. It goes like this. You were mine for just a while. Now you're putting on the style. And you never once look back at your home across the tracks. You're the gossip of the town, and my heart can still be found where you tossed it on the ground to pick me up on your way down. Yeah, pick me up on your way down when you're blue and all alone. When the glamour starts to bore you, come on back where you belong. For you may be their pride and joy, but they'll find another toy, and they'll take away your crown. Pick me up on your way down. Come on, Doug, play it all. They have changed your attitude, made you haughty and so rude. Your new friends can take the blame. Underneath you're still the same. But when you learn these things things are true, I'll be waiting here for you. When you tumble to the ground, pick me up on your way down. You pick me up on your way down when you're blue and all alone. When the glamour starts to bore you, come on back where you belong. You may be their pride and joy, but they'll find another toy. When you take away your crown, pick me up on your way down. So when you tumble to the ground, pick me up on your way down. Oh, thank you very much. Rebecca, if you can hear me, we're going to do a couple other songs before you come back out here. We're running a little short on time. We want to play all the way up to 2 in the morning, so. Everybody having a good time so far? All right. Anything we can do for you? Get you anything? Questions you could answer? What? You got to talk loud. I can't hear. Imagine that. Just shut up and play, all right? Well, you're not the first person to tell me that. Just shut up and sing. All right, we'll get Kevin here to sing you a song. Not that this is all about me. I moved to Nashville in 1978, and I thought, boy, if I could just get a job with that guy or this guy, boy, I'd have it made. And I learned a few lessons in the early days, but one of the very first guys I got a job for, and I don't know whether it was because of my guitar playing or if it was because, y'all remember, I know some of y'all, they had in 1958 and 1959, they made, GMC made these buses called the Buffalo, and they were huge. And the front of them went back kind of flat like a regular bus, and then about a quarter of the way up, it went way up in the air like that, and then went way in the back. It was 1958 and 59. They were called scenic cruisers. And the idea was you could sit up on the second level there, and it was all glass. Well, those became wonderful tour buses because you could get, in the bins underneath the bottom, you could live in them. They were huge. So you could get all your band gear underneath there, and you could get all your band and everybody in this bus. Well, this was not in 1950. This was in 1978. Leroy Van Dyke's got one of these things, and I don't know if you guys know what a double clutcher is, but it's an old transmission. You had the double clutch. And he said, well, can you play the guitar? I said, I can, sir. He said, how's your bus driving skills? I said, they're great, because I worked for a truck driving company after I got out of the Army for a while. I drove 18-wheeler for a couple years before I moved to Nashville. So I don't know if I got the job with Leroy Van Dyke because I could drive his bus or because I could play guitar. But nonetheless, he's a great man. If you get a chance, check him out sometime. He's 80-some years old, and he looks about 50 years old. And Kevin's going to do a song and tell you about Leroy.
Well, okay. Well, you just did. But, he came into fame in 1956. Remember the Auctioneer song? That was his first one. He's recorded over 500 songs. This song we're going to do is the biggest country single of all time based on sales back in 1994. And this is Wikipedia stuff here. You really got to read it and write it down. Anyway, based on sales, plays, and weeks in the chart, it was #1 for 19 weeks. In all 42 weeks, it was #5 on the pop charts. So this was a pretty big song right here. Crossover. And here we go with, what's the name of it?
It's called Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven. Here we go. If I see you tomorrow on some street in town, pardon me if I don't say hello. I belong to another. Wouldn't look so good to know someone I'm not supposed to know. Sing it. I just walk on by, wait on the corner. I love you, but we're strangers when we meet. So just walk on by, wait on the corner. I love you, but we're strangers when we meet. I'll turn around. In a dim little corner, someplace out of town. Tonight we'll try to say goodbye again. But I know it's not over. I'll call you tomorrow night. I can't let you go, so why pretend? So just walk on by, wait on the corner. I love you, but can't stop with me. Just walk on by, wait on the. I love you, but we're strangers when we meet. I love you, but we're strangers when we meet. Yeah.
That's Kevin Kingston, y'all.
KK.
All right. I'm going to throw a curve ball to the band. First of all, I've had the opportunity to play in many, many bands. Well, now actually not that many bands. Actually probably about 5 bands in my life. A couple of them have been really, really famous. But I don't think I've played in a much better band than this. You all need to give these guys a round of applause. They're some of the finest musicians that you're going to hear. And you go any place you want to go, but when you want to hear some good country music and some good music, come and hear the Orange Blossom Opry Band. Now, as you noticed, we've kind of featured myself a little bit, and Doug, and we've also featured Kevin. Something I want to tell you, I know a lot of y'all are regulars and come here a lot, and it's a sad day coming for me tomorrow because Mr. Peter George over here is going to be leaving us. He's taking a job, and he's moving to Branson. How many of y'all saw Peter's show when he was here? Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Brilliant and just phenomenal. And everybody, here's the thing. Everybody's going by saying, oh, we wish you a lot of luck. Yeah, good luck, man. I'm going by saying, I hope you have terrible luck. I hope everything goes in the commode when you get over there, and you call me and say, I'm coming back. What about that? Well, anyway.
Well, I will be back. I'm going to come back and do special shows like
yes.
the one I did last week.
Okay, well, here's something you don't know.
What's that?
Because we've been doing all this real old country music show, and I just realized you haven't sang anything, so guess what?
What do you want me to sing?
I don't care. What do you want to sing? You sing whatever you want to sing.
me to
Y'all
sing?
want to hear Peter sing a song? Come.
Yeah. You want me to sing some Jerry Lee?
Yeah, sing some Jerry Lee.
All right.
What are you doing?
What do you sing?
Clap.
The Crazy Man song.
If you do a real good job, we'll fix those flats we did on your car.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go put gas back in your
Yep.
car that we siphoned out. All right.
You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. The kind of love makes a man insane. You broke my will, but what a deal, baby. Goodness gracious, scream on the fire. Came along, I thought it was funny. Came along and moved me, honey. Take me fine, your love is fine, baby. Goodness gracious, scream on the fire. Kiss me, baby. It feels good, yeah. Hold me, baby. I wanna love you like a lover should. You're fine, so kind. Got
That's Peter George, everybody.
Thank you.
Your fans love you, Peter.
I love all of you. I'm going to have to tell you, I've been playing since I was 10 years old, which goes way back to, God, the 60s. And you guys are the best audience ever. I'm telling you, you people, you're so appreciative. I love you very much. I'm going to miss you all. But I'm coming back to do special shows. And you've got these guys. These guys are awesome. And there's all kinds of new things coming here. So you'll forget about me.
No, that's not true. We probably
But
won't.
I won't forget about you.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's right.
Thank you so much.
By the time I get done with you before you leave, you won't forget about me. You'll want to. Ladies and gentlemen, have you had a good time so far? Well, we left out, we tried to give you a little history about country music, a little bit about how things got started. I hope you learned something you didn't know before you came here. Most of all, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you forgot about whatever problems you had outside and came in here and just had a good time, because that's really what we wanted you to do, is have a great time. We did forget about a couple of girls in our show. One of them was, of course, the great Patsy Cline, and again, Tammy Wynette. And to finish out the night, we have the lovely Rebecca May. Please make her welcome again as she returns to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you so much. This tune right here was written by Willie Nelson. It's a 1962 hit of Patsy Cline's. I'm sure you'll recognize it.
Crazy, I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. I'm crazy, crazy for feeling so blue. I knew you'd love me as long as you wanted, and then someday you'd leave me for somebody new. Worry, why do I let myself worry? Wondering what in the world did I do? Oh, crazy for thinking that my love would hold you. I'm crazy for trying and crazy for crying, and I'm crazy for loving you. Worry, why do I let myself worry? Wondering what in the world did I do? Oh, crazy for thinking that my love could hold you. I'm crazy for
Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. We're going to do one of my favorite tunes here, and this is a 1968 tune. I'm going to let you guess. I'm sure you're going to know exactly who this is. 1968, biggest and best-selling hit of hers. Here we go, 1968. Sometimes it's hard to be a woman. Thank you. Giving all your love to just one man. You have bad times and you have good times, doing things that you don't understand. Isn't that right? But if you love him, you'll forgive him, even though he's hard to understand. And if you love him, oh, be proud of him, 'cause after all, he's just a man. Stand by a man, give him 2 arms to cling to, and something warm to come to when nights are cold and lonely. Stand by your man and show the world you love him. Keep giving all the love you can. Stand by your man. Stand by your man and show the world you love him. Keep giving all the love you can. Stand by your man.
That's Rebecca Lawless, y'all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all.